So the Washington Wizards were not what you would call in a good place when they took the court in Portland last night. They were on the second night of a back-to-back on the road. They had just lost to Utah by 47 points in a game that was actually worse than it sounded. And they were still missing all-star point guard John Wall to a bad knee. Pretty much what the expression recipe for a loss was invented for. But then something interesting happened. Bradley Beal started scoring, and he kept scoring. And not just by piling in threes or puffing his numbers at the line, the way we've, let's face it, seen with some of these binges over the past few seasons, but from all over the court. There were tough baskets, there were pretty baskets, there were baskets, frankly, he had no business making against one of the NBA's top 5 defenses. Here's the shot chart when he was done. 51 points in 43 minutes. And it's even more remarkable when you realize Beal had totaled only 50 points in his previous 4 games combined. The truth is, it's been a struggle for Beal without Wall, and some of that's expected when your best player goes down, but some of it has been a head-scratcher too. After all, isn't Beal the guy who's told us for a few seasons now how underrated he is? With Washington's offense fully at his disposal, why wasn't he balling? Well, in his post-game interview last night, he explained.
I was getting in my own head. I was trying to be a point guard, trying to do everything, and trying to put a little bit too much pressure on myself. But instead of just playing my game, man, and I just came out and did that tonight and stayed aggressive, you know, on both ends of the floor. And I think I knew at halftime that I had to carry the team for sure.
I mean, look, the truth here is that the game is hard, and it's not just getting the ball in the hoop that's the hard part. On the court stuff, off the court stuff, it can all mess with a player's head and keep him from living up to his full potential, and we see it in all kinds of ways, big and small. That's why when a guy is able to overcome all that stuff like Beal did last night, or frankly guys like Dwight Howard and LaMarcus Aldridge have been doing all season, it's so interesting and what makes the NBA such a cool sport to follow. There isn't a bunch of equipment to mask anything or dozens of teammates to hide behind. When a player is struggling, it is laid bare for the world to see, and when he redeems himself, you get to see that too. The sweat on his brow, the smile on his face, and the joy that comes from a hard night's work. Well done. Tracy, do you think we can now expect more of this from Bradley Beal?
No, not in a bad way. I'm just saying. I mean, he's a volume shooter.
Right.
The guy can play. He just had it rolling last night. If you take 37 shots, you better have 50 points. The way he can shoot the ball. This is the classic case when your best player is out, and you get more shots when he's out of the lineup, and you kind of get yourself in a rhythm and have a night like this. He's got to figure out how to make shots like this, tough shots, and be this aggressive when John Wall is in the lineup. Now, I would expect this out of him if John Wall is not in the lineup, but it's going to result into a lot of losses.
Right. Well, so it hasn't been happening at all. Now at least it's happening.
And you know, the tough thing about making those tough shots is that because you take 37 of them, some of them will be easy, some of them will be tough. When John comes back, you're not going to get 37
No,
shots,
you're not
right?
getting 37
So how do I make sure that those, whatever's left, 17, let's say, I'm making the most out of it? But it's funny, he talked about playing why he hadn't, because he's trying to be something he wasn't. He was trying to be John Wall. You can't be someone else. You got to be yourself. One of my favorite stories ever is hearing about Aaron Rodgers when he was backing up Brett Favre. His first couple of years, he tried to copy everything Favre did, throw off the back leg. And then he realized, I can't be Brett Favre. Brett Favre, that's not my game. Right. That's not who I am. I got to play my game. And he's now a Hall of Famer and maybe the greatest quarterback of all time. But he did it being himself, not trying to copy the other Hall of Famer that was on his team.
That's what's so interesting to me about watching guys like this is that, look, we often think how well you do in the NBA is just how talented are you, right? I mean, if you're Tracy McGrady, you can shoot the lights out. If you're a guy who doesn't have that kind of shot, who can't do this kind of thing, doesn't have that athleticism, oh, you're not going to be as good a player.
Sit here.
But there's a way to maximize what you have or not, right? And that variance is something that we watch guys, and you can physically watch them struggle with it.
I mean,
and it's fascinating
look,
to me.
I would have, when Bradley Beal's career is over and I look back and he never scored 50 points, I would have been highly disappointed in him.
I mean, number 3 overall pick.
Right. I would have been disappointed that he's never hit the 50 mark in his career. I mean, he's just that type of player. And having John Wall out gives him more opportunities to put up these type of numbers.
It is funny because Beal's we all agree he's a great player. He's in the middle of his second contract. I feel like he still hasn't lived up to his potential. He could be so much better, right?
Absolutely.
And so this is part of that. It's
right.
Kind of saying, okay, you need to do this a lot more often.
Yeah.
And we get to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I like those kind of stories.